You manage a team, run your own business, or are an elite service professional. You manage pressure and you perform at a level most people will never understand. However, your body is filing a different report. And the longer you ignore it, the more expensive the bill comes. Today, I'm going to show you 3 markers of what I call the silent executive decline and why the men who are winning in business and careers are quietly losing the one asset that makes everything else possible. I'm Ron and I help male managers, business owners, and service pros get lean and optimized without living in the gym using my Apex Metabolic System, okay? This isn't a scare video. This is a performance review your doctor never gave you, okay? Let me do this and let's get straight into it. Okay, so there are 3 things happening inside the body of almost every high responsibility man I consult with. Okay, and here's what makes them dangerous. They don't announce themselves. They compound quietly until one day the cost becomes undeniable. Marker number 1, the energy crash pattern. You're not just tired, there's a difference between fatigue and metabolic decline. Fatigue recovers with a weekend, decline compounds every week you ignore it. What's exactly happening is that your cortisol rhythm is dysregulated. Years of chronic under recovery, broken sleep, high stress, no structured downtime. Basically, your brain's always on and it's flattened the curve. Your body is producing cortisol when it shouldn't and not enough when it should. The result is you're running on adrenaline and caffeine, not actual energy. And by 2 p.m., you crash. By the evening, you have nothing left for your family as well. Most men call this busy. I call it the first sign your biology is filing a complaint. Okay, so marker number 2 is hormonal drift. Testosterone naturally declines about 1 to 2% per year after 30. That's biology. But in the men I work with, it's accelerated, sometimes dramatically by 3 factors: chronic sleep debt, unmanaged stress, and regular alcohol consumption. Here's what most men miss. You don't feel testosterone decline as one big event. You feel it as a series of small concessions, slightly less drive, slightly less recovery, and slightly less sharpness. And you start blaming your schedule instead of investigating your biology. And the industry's answer, skip straight to TRT, which I'm heavily against because you need to exhaust the fundamentals before you try anything unnatural or synthetic. And before you've even tested whether your fundamentals are in order, that's not medicine, right? That's a sales pitch. So that's exactly what I mean when you don't want to skip to, I don't want to say shortcut, but you don't want to skip to an unnatural or external source of power, testosterone, vitality, and stuff like that. You want to be independent. You don't want to become neurotic. And I'll leave it at that. It's all about exhausting fundamentals. That's my philosophy anyway. Marker number 3 is body composition creep. Your suits fit differently. Visceral fat is accumulating around your midsection. You're training maybe, but nothing changes, okay? Or worse, you've stopped altogether because the last 3 attempts didn't work. And what's happening metabolically is your body has adapted to years of inconsistency, under-eating and then over-eating, training hard for 6 weeks, then nothing for 3 months. Your metabolism has learned to protect itself. It's not broken, it's just adapted to the chaos. And here's the part that stings. You'd never tolerate this pattern in your business. You'd never accept 3 years of declining revenue and call it just getting older. But that's exactly what you've been doing with your body. I'll leave it at that for that slide. And this is what I call executive cognitive dissonance. Professional success making physical erosion. You're so good at performing in every other area that you've convinced yourself that the physical decline is either inevitable or not that serious. It is serious, okay? It is serious. And it's not inevitable. It's a result of a system running without maintenance. So what does an actual performance review look like? Not the one that you typically get for the typical blood test you get. There are specific markers that you should be getting tested that become more prevalent as you get older as well, especially for male managers, business owners, and service pros, right? And I'm talking about the markers that predict decline years before symptoms become obvious. And these are the 5 things I like my clients to look at. Obviously, this transcends the typical health fitness coaching aspect of things, but this is very important. This is the level of details I go into, right? Number 1 is fasting insulin, not just glucose. Fasting insulin tells you whether your body is becoming resistant to its own signaling. Most annual physicals don't even test this. By the time glucose is elevated, you're years into the problem, okay? Number 2 is free testosterone, not total, free. Total testosterone can look normal, while free testosterone, the amount your body can actually use, is low. This is the number that drives energy, recovery, body composition, and cognitive sharpness. Number 3 is HSCRP, high sensitivity C-reactive protein, to give light to what it stands for. And this measures systemic inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation is the silent accelerator behind almost every marker on this list. Stress, poor sleep, alcohol, processed food, they all drive it up without a doubt. And so you want to make sure that the HSCRP is intact. Number 4 would be the thyroid panel, specifically T3. And this is your metabolic thermostat. That's the way I give an analogy to it. When it's suppressed, which happens with chronic dieting, undereating, or prolonged stress, especially you guys, you definitely have a lot of sleep debt, especially if you're sleeping like 45 hours and your willpower is carrying you through the last decade or so. The sleep debt's crept up and it just really downregulates your metabolism, your body goes into survival mode and stuff like that. So you can train hard and eat clean and still not lose fat because the T3 is suppressed and many other things. And the other thing being cortisol rhythm. So that's the number 5. You can get a serum cortisol test or you could track it on a daily basis in terms of stress levels. But the pattern across the day is if it's high in the morning and tapering, or is a flat cortisol curve is a biological fingerprint of burnout. Okay. And just to give a little fun fact. So when you wake up in the morning, naturally your body produces a lot of cortisol to get you out of bed, but it shouldn't stay elevated, right? So especially for the guys that do intermittent fasting, you want to make sure that cortisol is tapering off, not staying high as you fast, if you break your fast at lunchtime, for example. And so when I built the Apex Metabolic System, I didn't build a training program. I built a biological recalibration protocol for men who operate under pressure. Okay, this is over years of experience and really trying to transcend the fitness aspect of things. And phase 1 is what I call the executive baseline calibration. Before we change anything, before a single workout or meal plan, we establish your metabolic starting point, your blood work analysis through my partnership with a precision health platform, passive health tracking via Whoop, sleep recovery, strain HRV. So every decision we make from day one is driven by your actual biology, not guesswork. Because every man I've worked with who failed before had the same problem. They weren't lazy. They didn't lack a discipline. They were following a plan that wasn't built for their biology or their life. And so phase 2 accelerates the results: strategic fat loss, lean muscle development, depending on your goals, advanced nutrition timing, all while fitting inside the constraints of an executive schedule. A business travel client is unpredictable weeks, schedule changes midweek, so we have to change the workouts around, stuff like that. And the system adapts to you, not the other way around. I heavily believe in the thing about building fitness around your life, not building your life around fitness, okay? Which isn't feasible for guys in your position. Phase 3 locks it in: independence, mastery. You finish the program knowing how to maintain everything we built without needing a coach ever again. Some clients stay because they value the accountability, but the goal is always sovereignty. You become your own expert. That's the goal. And so let me show you what this looks like in practice. I worked with a man who runs a tech business, 44 years old, married, 1 daughter. Came to me with the exact pattern: energy crashes, clothes fitting differently, training sporadically, hadn't had blood work done in years. And then he got his blood work done. His free testosterone was low, his fasting insulin was elevated, his sleep quality, once we started tracking it, was significantly worse than we thought as well. But he had a lot of willpower, so he was just pushing through, like most of you guys are. And so within 4 months, testosterone doubled, dropped 10 kilos, got under 100 kilos for the first time in a very long time. His wife noticed the changes before he did. Better relationship with the daughter and stuff like that, okay? But here's what matters more than the numbers. He told me, and this is almost word for word, I feel like I got myself back. Not the version from 20 years ago, a better version, right? And that's not a fat loss result. That's an identity restoration. And it happened because we stopped guessing and started measuring. We built a system around his actual biology, his actual schedule, his actual goals, his actual situation, his actual life, and not a template, not a system. And so decline is never sudden. It's a slow concession. It's the sleep you sacrifice for one more email, the training session you skip because the week got away from you, the blood work you postpone because you assume everything's fine. Each one individually, it's insignificant, but if you stack it across the years, that's how a high-performing man or high-responsibility man quietly becomes a man who used to perform. And I use the analogy of compound interest. If you're investing in let's say ETF or something, and you're depending on dollar cost averaging and compound interest over the years, exponential growth happens inevitably. Same thing happens with bad habits, okay? The men I coach who reverse this all share one trait. They stop negotiating with their health. They stop treating their body like the one thing that they could wait, because everything you build, the career, the family, the reputation, the wealth, all of it sits on one foundation. That foundation is biological. So if this resonated, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And here are 2 things you can do right now. First is DM me the word macros on Instagram, and I'll calculate your personal macros for free. It takes less than a minute and it's done via IG chat. Super accurate, unlike many calculators online. The second option is if you're ready to stop guessing and start measuring, there's a link in the description to book a free discovery call with me, one-on-one, to map out the exact game plan for you. Either way, stop negotiating. Your body has been filing the report. It's time to read it. Okay, gents? Till the next one.